I'm pretty sure this video is going to piss off some people. After my total hip replacement, I absolutely, positively refuse to see the physician's assistant. Hi, I'm Pamela, and 2.5 years ago, I had a total hip replacement. I'm not a medical professional, and so I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm simply sharing information that I have learned from the patient's perspective. During my first appointment with the doctor, I met the doctor, the man with the MD. In my opinion, it was a little bit more kind of like a meet and greet. He looked at the x-rays, he listened to me very concerned. We talked a little bit about the surgery, and I said, yes, he's my guy. Then the next appointment that I had wasn't with him, it was with his physician's assistant. Now, I was okay with that particular appointment. I didn't care for the individual particularly, but in that appointment, he was just kind of talking about some logistics related to scheduling. He showed me a model of, oh, look, this is what the actual implant looks like. He talked a little bit about what would happen in the days and weeks after my surgery. He answered any questions that I had. Fine, whatever. After my surgery, I had my 2-week checkup with the doctor. It wasn't with the doctor, it was with the physician's assistant. At that point, I started to realize that he was not answering the questions that I had about my surgery. I was talking to him about pain. His response was, just write me another prescription. I was asking him about physical therapy. He said, oh, you walk fine. You don't need any more physical therapy. I told him about a conversation that I had with the MD during my, what I now call the meet and greet appointment, where that doctor told me that I absolutely could run after my surgery. When I asked the physician's assistant about me running, again, when can I start? Even though the MD had already told me I could start 3 months after surgery. The physician's assistant acted like he knew nothing about this. He did not encourage me to run. And while he didn't exactly say, no, I can't, I guess because he didn't want to say something different than maybe the MD did, he clearly did not want me to run. That was very alarming to me. Not necessarily because the physician's assistant said indicated I shouldn't run versus the MD said no problem. What alarmed me was clearly there wasn't any communication between these two people about my particular health. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to do that right now and click the little bell icon. That way you'll be notified every time I publish a new video. The next appointment that I had, which I thought was with my doctor, wasn't a doctor's appointment. It was another appointment with that same physician's assistant. Now, at this point, this was for my 3-month checkup. I had gotten past the stiffness. I was walking really well. I was exercising a bit. I was doing some stretching, some yoga a bit. And I was having some problems, though, with when I lay on my back, brought my knees up to my chest, my knees were not balanced. And so when I showed the physician's assistant this experience, he told me I was imagining it. Now, I'm laying on my back, looking at my knees, not being balanced. Clearly, I was not imagining it. I could tell he was frustrated with me. I was extraordinarily frustrated with him. I didn't appreciate the person that did not do my surgery, indicating that I was telling me I was imagining things. So that appointment did not go well. I got home, vented to my poor honey who listens to me complain about all of these things, and now I'm creating a YouTube video about this. And then just kind of thought, you know what, let me give it another couple of months and see if maybe things will kind of settle down a little bit. So in the meantime, I was seeing some physical therapy. Physical therapy is like, oh, it's just because it's still swollen. I'm like, okay, now it's been 5 months. Do I really have that much swelling? So called the doctor's appointment again and said, I want to make an appointment with the doctor. They're like, no problem. They said the physician's assistant's name. He's got some openings, next month. Do you prefer mornings or afternoons? I said, no, I do not want to have another appointment with a physician's assistant. I want to see the MD. They're like, oh, but doctor, his schedule's 4 months out. You can see the physician's assistant, just in a couple of weeks. I said, doctor's schedule's 4 months out? Great, schedule me for an appointment with the doctor. So 4 months later, I finally go back and I see the actual MD, the person who did the cutting and chopping and grinding and sawing and whatever it is that they do during hip replacement surgery. And so I went through the same scenario with him again. I said, why are my knees imbalanced? And he said to me, oh, that's because the implant that I put in your hip is bigger than what your natural ball and socket would be. And so that's why you're imbalanced. It's not your legs, it's your pelvis. Now, to me, that seems like a pretty clear, understandable answer to this problem that the physician's assistant told me I was imagining. As happy as I was that my MD gave me an actual, legitimate, real answer, I was so frustrated by the time that I had wasted and the frustration that I had with the physician's assistant that's when I just said, I will never schedule another appointment with a physician's assistant again. Now, I know physician's assistants are professionally trained professionals. I am not disparaging the industry as a whole. Maybe this one PA is just a jerk. Maybe I just have a bad response to him for whatever reason, because there's certain people I just don't like, even if other people seem to think that they're great. But for me, for my body, for my health, I want to see the MD. I did a little bit of research into what's the difference between the education a physician's assistant has and the education the orthopedic surgeon has. Now, these are general statements. According to my research, a physician's assistant has between 6 and 7 years worth of education and about 2,000 clinical hours. Now, to be honest, I'm not 100% certain what clinical hours actually are, but compare that to an MD, my orthopedic surgeon, or potentially your orthopedic surgeon. They have between 11 and 15 years of education and more than 15,000 clinical hours. So the difference in the amount of education and experience they have is dramatic. And so from this point forward, unless I'm doing something very minor, like I've got a sore throat, I need an antibiotic, or don't, sure, I'll see the physician's assistant. But when it comes to my hip replacement or any other type of surgery that hopefully I won't ever have to have again, I'm not seeing the physician's assistant. I will absolutely insist on seeing the MD. Now, I know that this particular video is a little bit of a rant of mine. If you've had an experience with your physician's assistant compared to an MD related to your hip replacement, if you're having one or had one, or some other medical thing, let me know. I would love to see your information. Put it in the comments below this video. At the time that I'm creating this video, my YouTube channel is still small enough where I read and respond to every single comment. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to do that right now and click the little bell icon. That way you'll be notified every time I publish a new video. I've got a whole long list of topics that I'm planning on creating videos for in the future. And so if you're interested in information about hip replacements, click that little bell icon. That way you'll know when I have new videos that are perfect just for you.